Good afternoon, students. In the previous session, we saw the various terminologies associated with it of the boiler water treatment, as well as what are the problems that normally occurs in boilers because of improper water quality characteristics. So today in this session, we will see what are the different treatment methods we employ for this feed water. So this feed water treatment can be done by means of two methods. One is by internal treatment and the other one is by external treatment. So this external treatment is further classified as mechanical, chemical as well as thermal treatment. If we take chemical treatment, zeolite process as well as demineralization process are the examples of this chemical treatment. Under thermal treatment, we have deaeration as well as evaporation processes. So before to start with external treatment, in today's session we will see what is this internal treatment and how it is being employed to that of the feed water. Normally we do internal treatment for feed water to make this water softened, deaerated as well as conditioned after it is entered into that of the boiler. So this internal treatment is done by adding suitable chemicals to the water in the boiler. There are different types of boilers, already we have seen this. So in case of low capacity and low pressure heating boilers, this internal treatment is the only method to prevent the scale, corrosion as well as the sludge formation. Suppose if the boilers are of large capacity where we have high pressure boilers also, in that case we will be normally generating the makeup water which will be treated externally and then it will be sent along with it of the condensed water as feed water to this boilers. Though this water is treated externally, a certain small amount of impurities will always be present in the boiler, so it is necessary to apply some additional internal treatment also apart from the external treatment. So in case of low pressure steam heating boilers, depending upon the purpose of the boilers, the degree of treatment will be varies. For example, if the steam boilers is used only for the purpose of generation of steam, that is for employed, it can be used for either plant or building heating. In that case, it is practically what happens here, all the steam that is condensate will be returned from the heating system to the boiler, and only very little additional water is required after the initial filling of the boiler. Suppose in this case, when the pot of the steam is used for certain other purposes rather than heating, like it can be used for steam humidifiers, sterilizers, saunas, etc. In that case, the amount of condensate returning to the boiler is reduced so that the makeup water requirement will be increased considerably and the internal water treatment will also become more extensive. Remember, this low pressure hot water boilers, they form the part of closed circulating heating systems. In these systems, the makeup requirements are usually very low and internal treatment requires only proper pH control as well as corrosion prevention. So when do we go for this internal treatment? Whenever there is a malfunction in external treatment, like reverse osmosis, filters, demineralization plant, deaerators, etc. In such cases, we will be going for internal treatment. Otherwise, if there is change in the inlet water quality or increase in inlet water quantity, a decrease in resin exchange capacity, improper regeneration of resin, in all other cases, all these cases also will go for internal treatment. So what are the various programs that comes under this internal treatments are given as here. One is phosphate hydroxide program and other one is polyphosphate polymer based. Then coordinated phosphate control, oxygen scavengers, neutralizing amines, all volatile treatment. So the choosing of these programs, it depends upon the degree of treatment what we require and what are the parameters to be get treated. So these are the different chemicals that is used for internal treatment. So this is classified as two ways. One is inorganic chemicals as well as organic chemicals. Once again, the choosing of these chemicals depends upon the what is the characteristics we want to treat in the water as well as what is the extent of treatment we have to do it. So inorganic chemicals, it requires a wide range of chemicals that is as it is established here. And organic chemicals, it involves lignin, sodium alginate, starch, tannins as well as polymers. Remember that this chemicals that is used for this internal treatment, it is not sold by their generic names. Instead, they are sold only by their trade names and it is available in various forms like balls or briquettes or as a powder or as a liquid. In certain cases, a single chemical can be used for multi-purpose. For example, a phosphate briquette is a chemical which can be used to prevent scale forming as well as sludge conditioning as well as anti-foam in the boiler. So this can serve all those three purposes. So thereby it simplifies the feeding of chemicals to the boiler by the operator. Remember, water may be the treatment be imposed. The water that is subjected to that of the boiler speed water, it has to be get analyzed, and the proper type of treatment has to be selected before it is subjected to that of the boiler. Otherwise, this improper water treatment will result in caustic embrittlement of boiler metal, foaming of boiler water, corrosion, loosening of old scale, which will be collecting as a heap in one location inside the boiler as well as the sludge deposits. Let's see in detail what are the internal treatment methodologies we normally apply for this various problems. So pH is very important thing that has to be maintained in the boilers, we all know, because if the boiler water is acidic, then the corrosion of the boiler metal will occur. So normally we'll make this pH as in alkaline range, preferably from 8.5 to 10.5. So to have this, to maintain this pH in alkaline range, we'll add sodium hydroxide solution as either it can be directly add to the boiler drum or to that of the feed water before it enters the drum. Sometimes phosphate compounds that will also be used to increase the pH value. So other problem what we normally enquire is scales that is formed in the boilers because of calcium and magnesium compounds. So in order to remove these scales, we add chemicals as internal treatment to this boiler water, so that this impurities will get precipitated and it will be get blow off. So for precipitation of this chemicals, for this calcium as well as magnesium compounds, we use chemicals like sodium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, sodium phosphate as well as sodium aluminate. In certain cases, sludge conditioning will also be done. Why? Because the conditioned sludge will be in fluid in nature and it will be easily get disposed of. So in order to do this conditioning, we have sludge conditioning chemicals like starch, tannin, lignin and alginates. And these chemicals are normally organic compounds, that is, it's originated from the nature or from organic materials. Say for example, starch is produced from corn or potatoes, while lignin and tannin are produced from wood and alginates from seaweeds. So what happens when we apply this chemicals as sludge conditioners, these materials will form a coating on the organic, on the inorganic substances like your calcium as well as magnesium compounds, and it will precipitate those compounds as well as it will prevent them from occurring to the boiler plates and tubes, and thereby it will be preventing the corrosion of this or the scale formation of this materials. The other problem what normally we encounter in the boilers is formation of your dissolved gases as well as oxygen or any carbon dioxide that is present in the water. It will react and it will leads to the corrosion of the boilers. So in order to remove this, what we do is we normally apply mechanical deaerators. But though we do this mechanical deaeration to remove the dissolved gases, there will be always some traces of oxygen that remains in the water. So we have to remove this, and this is done by adding chemicals in the internal treatment, because these chemicals have the capability to absorb the dissolved oxygen. Normally the chemicals that is employed for this purpose is sodium sulfate as well as hydrazine. The other problem what we encounter in boiler treatment is foaming. As we all know, it is a formation of bubbles, which is these bubbles are very hard to break and it will be forming at the top surface of the boiler water. Therefore, it will be very difficult for us to find out what is the water level in the boiler. And further, this foaming will also leads to priming. What is that priming? We have seen already. It is like along with the steam that is coming out from the boiler, a portion of water will also be carried over. Okay, so that is called as priming. So in order to minimize all these things, we'll go for anti-foaming compounds. We'll add this to the as chemicals to the internal treatment for this process in the boiler, so that all this foam producing materials will be get removed. So normally the foam will be produced by with the help of high concentrated dissolved as well as suspended solids as well as organic materials in the raw water. So when we use this anti-foam compounds, it will reduce the tendency of the water to form foaming. So the other problem is caustic embrittlement. Normally we add sodium hydroxide or caustic soda to prevent the scale as well as to control the pH in the water. But what happens here, if it is added in improper dosage, it will cause the embrittlement and cracking of the boiler metal, okay, particularly at riveted seams and at tube ends. So this cracking occurs when metal under stress is attacked by a concentrated caustic solution. So in order to remove this problem, in order to tackle this problem, we will add certain minerals like sodium nitrate, lignins and tannins to that of the boiler water, so that it prevents the caustic embrittlement. The other serious problem what we encounter in boiler is return line as well as streamline corrosion. This is caused by the oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide that acts with the help of the presence of moisture with that of the chemical other substances in the water, so that it will be forming the corrosion. So in order to minimize this, we can raise the water temperature to the boiling point in the deaerator, but there is a drawback in this, because here more carbon dioxide also may be released because of raising of the temperature within the boiler, and it will react with it of the decomposition of the bicarbonates that is there in the water, and it causes some additional problems also. So in this case, to minimize this return line corrosion as well as streamline corrosion, we will add certain chemicals like amines, so to reduce these problems. So these amines are normally classified into two types. One is neutralizing amines and the filming amines. From the name itself, we can say that neutralizing amines are the materials which helps to neutralize and raise the pH value of the condensate. Whereas the filming amines, it will form a film over the return line surfaces, and thus it prevents the corrosion. So when we go for a feed systems, this internal treatment chemicals can be fed directly by motor driven pump, which is high pressure and low capacity type. But remember that it should be equipped with a shut off valve next to the boiler as well as a check valve, so that we'll have a proper dosage of the chemicals. And as this pump is a positive displacement type, a relief valve should also be installed on the pump discharge line to prevent the damage in case the shut-off valve is closed while the pump is running. So what are the other common internal chemical feeding methods? So as we already said, one is a pump, we can go for employing it. Other than that, we can go for using some chemical feeders. So there are ways where we could do this feeding. Say it can be done either intermittently or continuously. Suppose if we are doing softening chemicals like phosphate, soda ash, caustic, etc., caustic soda, etc., it's mandatory that it can be done either continuously or intermittently depending upon the feed water hardness and other factors. While if we use chemicals for reacting with it of the dissolved oxygen or the chemicals to prevent scale and corrosion, in that case this chemical should be applied continuously into that of the water. If the chemicals are used to prevent condensate system corrosion, this can be directly fed to the stream or into the feed water system depending upon the specific chemical used. Normally continuous feeding is preferred, but intermittent application will suffice in some cases. So as we already said, this chemical feeding can be done either directly to that of the feed water line or the supply line or the return line of the hot water circulating system, or directly into the boiler depending upon the usage as well as the purpose, as well as all the the necessary of the operator purposes. So here what happens here, the feeders used for closed heating systems with low makeup are quite simple, since after the initial treatment of the water, only small quantities of chemicals have to be fed into the system periodically. The other type of feeder we can use is bypass feeder, where we can feed the chemicals in the form of briquette or ball form into the feed water to that of the circulating line. So this is one type of bypass feeder, which is said to be closed type bypass feeder, where the briquettes or balls will be placed in the pot and a slipstream of water will be flowing through that of the pot feeder. So the water slowly dissolves the briquette and it carries the chemicals into the feed water line. The other type of feeder is gravity drip feeder, where the powdered or liquid chemicals will be fed to that of the circulating lines. So here the chemical will be slowly drips down by gravity into the pipeline and it will be gradually washes into the system. So this is a closed type bypass feeder, where we will be having the briquettes, it will be filled up at the top and the water will be, or the steam will be passed, so that it will be dissolved. This briquettes will be get dissolved in the water and then it will be taken to the of the feed line. So this is the other type, where we have closed type gravity drip feeder, where the chemicals either terms of solution or like as powdered, it will be added, and what happens here, by means of gravity it will be get dripped down and it will be entering into that of the feed line. So there are various conditioning products what is used to condition. So here this are the other conditioning products. One is like a phosphate dispersants, polyphosphate dispersants, etc. are there. So what they do when we add it to the water, it react with the alkalinity of the boiler water and it will form tricalcium phosphate, which can be precipitated and it can be removed by blowdown operation. And we have other natural and synthetic dispersants like anti-scaling agents. So this chemicals will increase the dispersive properties of the conditioning products. So this anti-scaling agents, it can be either natural polymers or synthetic polymers, and the list of the polymers under this category is shown here. And even sequestering agents like inorganic phosphates can be used because it will act as inhibitor and it will implement a threshold effect. So this are the list of oxygen scavengers what is employed in the feed water. What happens here when we employ these scavengers, it can be either catalyzed or it cannot be catalyzed. So its main purpose is to reduce the oxides and the dissolved oxygen in the water. Most also it will passivate the metal surfaces. The choice of the product and the dose required will depend upon whether a deaerating heater is required. If we use anti-foaming or anti-priming agents, so this mixture of surface active agents that modify the surface tension of the liquid, it removes the foam and it prevents the carryover of the fine particles into that of the stream. Certain other softening chemicals like soda ash, caustic and various types of sodium phosphates are also used. We could see what happens here. Normally sodium silicate will be directly, it will be reacting with it of the magnesium hardness, while calcium carbonate, this will enter with it of the feed water, this calcium bicarbonate, it will enter with it of the feed water and it will react with it of the caustic soda to form calcium carbonate. And since calcium carbonate is relatively insoluble, it tends to come out of the solution. When we go for sodium carbonate, it breaks out at higher temperature to sodium hydroxide, that is caustic as well as carbon dioxide. Similarly, we can go for applying the calcium sulfate. This will be reacted on with sodium carbonate or sodium phosphate or sodium silicate to form insoluble calcium carbonate, phosphate or silicate. And magnesium sulfate is reacted upon by the caustic soda to form a precipitate of magnesium hydroxide. Some magnesium may react with the silica to form magnesium silicate. Sodium sulfate is highly soluble and it remains in solution unless the water is evaporated almost to dryness. So apart from using these chemicals, we can do conditioning by the other ways like coagulation as well as dispersion. We already know what is coagulation. Here, to increase the amount of sludge and to make it as a flocculant particles, we add certain types of chemicals, or we'll adjust the amounts of alkalis, phosphates and organics that is used for the treatment, so that all this substances will get coagulate and it will get settled down, as well as it can be get removed by blowdown operation. So when the amount of sludge is not high, then in that case we can use for a high percentage of phosphates as treatment, because here the phosphates, they don't form the large flocculant particles, instead they form a separated sludge particles which can be removed thereof. A higher percentage of organic sludge dispersants is used on the treatment to keep the sludge particles dispersed throughout the boiler water. So the materials used for conditioning sludge includes various organic materials like tannin, lignin as well as the alginate classes. Certain synthetic organic materials are also used as anti-foam agents. The chemicals used to scavenge oxygen include sodium sulfate as well as hydrazine. We have already seen this. And various combination of polyphosphates and organics are also used for preventing the scale as well as corrosion in feedwater systems. Volatile neutralizing amines and filming inhibitors are used for preventing the condensate corrosion. Remember, the purpose of the internal treatment is to minimize the scale as well as to make the sludge non-adherent to the of the boiler metal, and also as well as to provide anti-foam protection, and also to eliminate the oxygen as well as to provide enough alkalinity to prevent boiler corrosion. In addition, supplementary measures and internal treatment should prevent corrosion and scaling of the feed water system and protect against corrosion in the steam condensate systems. So in the next session, we will see what is the external treatment method and how it is done. Thank you guys.